And Centuro really came about because it's really about an industry that needed disruption. So I got together with another lawyer. We had some ideas and suggestions on how to really transform this industry. And that's really how Centuro was born.
Lovely. That's a beautiful journey, and I'm sure that there would be so many challenges while you were founding Centuro Global. But I really want to understand, what are you doing with Centuro Global's AI-powered SaaS platform? How is it simplifying global journey for companies?
Okay, so it really comes from past experience. So when I had my previous business, and even when I was working in law firms, I guess one of the issues that we saw is that companies, when they're trying to expand into different markets, they need different types of advice. They need legal advice, tax advice, advice for their employees and their workforce in order to succeed. And what we found was quite often companies would go to different suppliers, they would have different needs that they would have, and it would really be a complete mess, and Excel sheets and all kinds of different complications that they would actually have to adopt to be able to get this advice. And so for us, when we were thinking about creating Centuro Global, we did a lot of research, and we found sources such as McKinsey saying 80% of new market entries fail. And we started to kind of go into that a little bit deeper. And it is because of the inconsistency of advice, people not understanding regulations and the lay of the land at an early stage, spending lots of time and money trying to research those markets. And then we realized actually this is an industry that can be simplified. And so the platform that we have, we use AI-powered technology. And what we've built is basically access to instant information, tools, resources, human-backed expertise to allow companies to be able to gain information and quality of information and knowledge to be able to get the advice that they can rely on to move faster. So to give you an example, in my previous company, what we used to often get was really large oil and gas companies. They would enter into projects, and the projects would be with clients. So they wouldn't often have an entity in the country that they're going to. And they'd want to deploy 100 people into a country, and they'd say, oh goodness, we would go over to somebody else to go and do the tax, to do the entity setup, and then they'd go to somebody else to do the workforce work permits, and then they'd go to somebody else to get employment law advice. And what happened was no one was working together consistently to deliver a simplified solution to allow the client to win their project, to be able to deploy the people that they needed to in a fast and efficient way. Instead, it was really fragmented. But our tool now allows companies to actually bring all of that together. So it is very different, and it is quite revolutionary.
Asma, you have raised some really important points over here, and I also want to understand, because AI is so much as a hot topic right now, and it's transforming almost each and every sector. So can you explain how for Centuro Global are you integrating AI into the technology platform to assist company into entering new markets?
You probably know, if you've used law firms or other kind of consultancy firms, you know this sector has been up for a need of transformation from a long time. So if I look back at my experience over the past years, I can see, again, we were doing everything was manual, by phone, by visiting. There was a lot of inefficiency in terms of the advice that would come back and forth. So I think there's a need for transformation. We didn't think AI would transform things the way that it has rapidly since last year. I think it's come at top speed, and the transformations that we're seeing are happening on a daily basis. So adopting it into your business and into your service offerings, I think, is essential for everyone. So we've actually put it at the forefront. And I think what we're seeing is we're trying to innovate in a different kind of way. So we're putting ourselves in the shoes of the customer or the users and saying to ourselves, well, how would they want to use this? What problems would they foresee? And how can we make this better for them? And daily, what I come across is, we get customer feedback, we look at how their user behavior is, we look at the way they consume the processes, and constantly improving them. And I think that's the beauty of being in a startup and also being a company that is quite nimble, because if you're a large established firm, you have to go through so much protocol to make those transformations and changes. And so what we can do is we can pretty much customize, be flexible, adapt to the changing needs of what the client needs. And quite often what has happened now over the last, I'd say, 12 months is a client would come to us, would express a need, and we would quickly adapt to that need and create it so that we're actually delivering according to the needs of the users and what their requirements are. So it's been a really exciting and interesting journey for me personally. I feel like I'm learning more than I've ever learned in the past. And so it's been an exciting time.
I completely understand that it's a good way to ask your customers as to how you should use the technology. But are you using AI to address tax, legal, and immigration challenges?
So, I mean, it's not as simple as that. As we all know, getting advice it's not something that can be automated. So when you look at ChatGPT, you look at all these open AI forums, there's a lot of information that's available, but it's not information that you can rely on. So generally speaking, what our ethos is that we don't advise clients to go and use the open AI sources. We've worked on AI that we've created, which is proprietary knowledge and information. So we're using large language models to create our own systems. And it's important because there are liability issues here, and it's important to ensure clients get accurate data when they are using that. So it's in a closed environment. We're going out to government departments. We're going out to experts in other countries. We're collaborating, partnering with specialist research agencies, and we're bringing diverse data sets into the system. And what that's allowing us to do is we're also internally using the system quite a lot, and it's really trying to learn all the time. Now, personally, I've been using it myself, and I feel like, when you think about the decades of knowledge that you have and input as much as you can into a system, I found it quite alarmingly good, right? So normally you'd think, because you go to open source and you try to ask a question, you don't know if you can rely on it. But this tends to, a client asked me a question, I put it into my system and I thought, okay, this requires someone with a lot of experience to answer this question. So I crafted my own answer and our response. And then I said to my colleagues, I said, can you put this question into our system and see what it produces? So I gave them my answer and we gave them the AI answer, and they were so close together. And I was so I thought, this is exactly where we want to be, is that we can get as close enough as we can to give the information to the end user that they feel empowered to make decisions much faster. You can't obviously always rely on the AI itself. You've got to back it with human expertise, and that's where I feel we do well. We have the tools, we have the resources, we have the AI, and then we back it with human verification as well. So there's different ways for people to verify quality, accuracy, and so forth.